got some lovely food for you now. Now look, some nice food for you. Lovely food, go on. There we go. I'll put it there nicely for you. Alright, there it is. Hang on, let me just put it here then. Get off. Let me just put it somewhere. Or it's just going to fall. Let me just move this out of the way. Alright, stop hissing. I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay, here we go. There, that's a nice meal for you. Yeah, is that okay? Okay, I'm going. Got the message. Bye. Look at it. It's a fucking demon, this cat. Alright, bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Yeah. Kitty. What am I supposed to call you? Kitty. Hello, Kitty. You're a good girl, aren't you? Hello, Kitty. She's giving me that growl. Hello. Hello. Bloody hell. I ain't going near you. Bloody hell.
At Old Trafford, so I suppose it's telling us it can be done. You can overhaul your playing staff, you can evolve, and you can continue to get great results, man.
Yeah, the question is, loads of star players at every single Premier League club, not for sale. We are not selling this player. Suddenly a £200 million bid comes in. What are you going to do? You're going to have to think about it. Every player at the end of the day has got his price. All right, let's talk.
Oh, here we go. Stop it. Oh, why? Stop it. Stop it. Leave her alone. Stop it. Sally, stop it. She doesn't want him on her. Stop it. Timmy, get back. I just did a pee. What the hell is that? What's that thing there? Is it a reptile or what? Is it a newt? My goodness. It's a newt. Oh. It's strange to think that this thing could be deadly. This little thing here. Ooh. I'm not touching this. I'm going to put it outside near a pond. It doesn't move fast. It doesn't have to move fast. Its defense is its skin. Anything that touches it is in trouble. And they look so cute. You feel like just picking it up. Ooh. Oops. Hi guys. Oh, I've got all yellow on my hand because I was just cutting up some turmeric. I hope you guys are well. I'll just let you know what a gloomy day. Look at it. It's so gloomy. I don't know why I'm laughing. I mean, what else could you do? Cry? Yeah, I think I'll put those what's it, those plant lights on. There was a lady and she asked me to buy the lights for depression, you know, those I think they're grow lights they're called. And they're quite effective. They're quite nice to give like different colours, yellow, reds. It's quite nice. They say the full spectrum of light. But those those lights for SAD, they also say they're full spectrum, but they're only white. So full spectrum must mean a spectrum that can't really be differentiated by the eye. You know, the colors can't be differentiated. I don't know. But I like this light, the light that she she advised me to get, the grow lights. It's got nice, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. It's really nice. White. I haven't needed to use it, but today it's so gloomy. Look at it, raining, cold. Sorry, I have to be careful. This corner is quite tight. People come around the corner fast, so I'm going to have to put my wipers on. Yeah, so the talk today, what is it about? Quite a few things actually. I got a comment about you know, alchemy and immortality, and one guy said he's really interested in it. Oh, another guy said I should contact his alchemist friend. It's not that, you know, I'm not interested or anything, but I've got ADHD. I forget. You know, if I don't do it at that moment, I'll forget. And luckily enough, I think people understand and they keep reminding me. Like the lady who had to keep reminding me about the grow lights, she was so nice, you know. I think people are just nice, and they don't realise though that, or maybe they do realise that they have to keep prodding, you know, and then the person will actually, you know, will actually do something. Finally, one of these reminders will get through. And it did happen with the grow lights. I did eventually buy them. So anyway, yeah, about alchemy. Yeah, I am interested in alchemy. But yeah, one thing I wanted to say is that I'm not so much interested in alchemy. You know, what is alchemy? It's you know, everybody uses the word alchemy now, from like groups to, you know, I mean, like bands or whatever, cartoons, you know, I think manga episodes or films, they use the word elixir. It's a bit like love, you know, it's just thrown around, or depression is just thrown around. Oh yeah, I lost my job, I am depressed. Yeah, of course you're depressed, but it's not clinical depression. Or it could be. It could be the beginning of a clinical depression, or, you know, it could switch on something in your brain and then you can never get out of it, maybe. I don't know. But when it comes to alchemy and the elixir of life, I've always been interested in it. And what I'm actually interested in isn't alchemy, really. It's the goal of alchemy, or the great work, which is to create an elixir that can transmute base metals to gold. And even that's just I think the Chinese alchemists view that as a test. So if you have a substance that can transmute like base metals or mercury, lead into gold, that's a test to show that if you can bring these metals to perfection, that, you know, has some magical properties. Maybe it can perfect man as well. I don't know about that, you know, because man isn't a metal, and so what could it do for a human being? Maybe it can't do much. I don't know. I like the idea, though, the idea of creating a substance, as I keep saying, an age-arresting drug that can stop you from aging, and that can extend your life. And I got a message. Oh yes, there was another guy saying that you're not, because I said, oh yeah, I'm obsessed with life extension and alchemy and things like that, immortality, yeah. And he said, you're not obsessed, you're just afraid. And he said the only two things that have been known to extend life is CR, or calorific restriction, and exercise. Now, I don't know about exercise, but calorific restriction, yeah, has been shown as the only kind of intervention that has been shown to extend life in what? Not in human beings, I don't think, but in various organisms. I'm not sure if it's fruit flies, certain worms. I think there was a study that was, maybe it's ongoing, but on our close relatives, for those who believe that we came from apes or monkeys. So there was a study on CR, or calorific restriction, with monkeys or chimpanzees, and some studies show that it does extend life, some say that it didn't extend life, but I think the differences in the studies were, I think, the quality of the nutrition, the quality of the diet, and not just, I think in one study they showed that it didn't work, but I think they looked at the study, and the quality of the food that was given to the chimps wasn't high quality. They just focused on the calorific restriction side, but not on the quality. So I think the calories were okay, like 20 or 30, 40% or whatever of what the body needs to survive. And so I think what happens is then the body rallies around those. If it doesn't have enough calories, then the body has to rally around whatever nutrients you give it. And so if it's based just on calories, and then the nutrients, the quality of the food, the diet, or the nutrients that you give it is low, then it will cause problems. So in that example, it didn't extend life. But there was another study where they did the same calorific restriction, but the food consumed, or the diet consumed, was of a higher nutritional value. You know, more vitamins, minerals, more amino acids, not just calories. They focused on the calories, but also the nutritional content. And so in that example, it seems to be working, or worked, you know, to extend life. So as I say, there are nuances. Now let's see, where can I park? Oh my goodness. Sorry, this thing keeps falling down. So I think I was going to say closed-minded. If the goal is life extension or a kind of immortality, people call it immortality, but to extend your life for 100 years, 200 years, hundreds of years, then I think you shouldn't be fixated on one thing. You know, only one thing can get you there. If you look into alchemy doesn't really promise this like life extension. Only there are some stories that kind of point to it. So some people might be saying, well, why are you interested in alchemy? That's caveman chemistry. Yes, it's true. It is caveman chemistry. I think there are, from my limited knowledge, there are a few things that they knew that we didn't know. In the old books, I don't know what century they were, but they are old. Before the table of elements, the periodic table of elements was created. Before that, alchemists were talking about mercury and using mercury to make gold, right? And I was wondering, why did they talk about mercury? Okay, it could be small m, or, you know, a mercurial substance. a substance that rises up from the flask and is very light, you know. Or capital M, which means real mercury. You know, when you read those books, you're just confused. It could be anything. But let's say mercury was the substance that they used to create gold, let's say. You know, people will be saying, no, it's not. It's just they use that just to fool people. Yeah, but hang on. I think there are some reports where mercury is used with another substance. Oh my goodness. Another substance, and they did actually get small bits of gold. And if you think about it, that in the periodic table of elements, mercury is next to gold. So mercury, you have to add one atom to mercury to make gold, or is it to take it away? Oh, I don't know. So in order for you to get gold, you have to add one thing to a mercury. So it's the closest one to gold. And I just found that it's interesting that, like, the ancients, they did talk about mercury, and with mercury you can make gold. Through a certain process, you can transmute mercury to gold. And, you know, later you see in the periodic table of elements, mercury is here and gold is here. So there kind of is an affirmation that to say that, yes, if you can do something, if you can have a substance that can transmute this thing here, it's only one step to gold. I don't know much about it, but I just find it interesting. And transmutation can happen. Like modern science has done it. Maybe a nuclear reactor, but using nuclear energy. It takes a lot of energy to do that. But that could be just one way of getting to gold from mercury. The ancients might have found a natural way in a flask to create an elixir. And so this elixir then can transmute a base metal into gold. Why not? There's more than one way to do something. The way that modern science uses so much energy, but it just shows that it can be done. So maybe it can be done another way or other ways. Well, anyway, like for me, I'm not really interested in making gold. What's the point? So some people say, well, no, it's potable gold. So that potable gold, aurum potable. So gold that you can drink, then creates. It won't create an immortal. You won't become immortal, because people who have created the potable gold, you can create potable gold, a type of potable gold, and drink it. It's what's it called? There's monoatomic gold, or something called ormus, which I made when I was in China, but little did I know I was poisoning myself, because I was using hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide for the pH swings up and down. So these pH swings will break down the gold to one atom or to smaller atoms, and you know that because you see the color changes. You see in the liquid, you see changes. It changes from brown, bluish color, green, red. And I thought I got the elixir. Oh yeah, that's it, red. But no, it changed again, and finally changed to purple, and didn't change anymore. But what I found out is I actually have cyanide in the final solution. So I couldn't drink it or take it. And that experiment has been going for 10 years. I still have it in the, but I don't know what to do, because it's toxic. It's got cyanide, it's got mercury, lead. So, and I didn't realize at the time that hydrochloric acid that you get from a lab and sodium hydroxide, they use lead or mercury in order to create the product. Because there's so little inside it, it doesn't matter. But when you're creating, when you're trying to break down the bonds of gold, you have to keep doing these swings. So you have to add an acid solution and then base, and you end up with loads of salt. And in that salt, you have, in those crystals, you have a lot of heavy metals. So that was my first mistake. Well, no, my first mistake was when I took this Ormus in China, I made it myself, and my head was spinning. I had like neurological symptoms, like toxins in my head. I couldn't sleep, probably strange dreams, and it just felt like a bad trip. It felt bad, didn't feel good. But that was with using Dead Sea salts. The other experiment where I got the solution or the salts to become purple, I actually used 999% gold, and I broke it down with chemicals, and then did the pH swings. But if you just choose alchemy, you look at the old books, in order to get to the point of life extension, then I think you're limiting yourself. So that's why I don't really limit myself with, I don't think the answer is in alchemy, because let's face it, all the alchemists are dead. So there might be some pointers there. There might be, if you look at the ancient Chinese stories or alchemists, they're not really alchemists. Some of them are Daoists, or they call them mountain men people. There's lots of interesting things that they talk about. At the moment, many people do the keto or carnivore diet, and they say it cures all their problems. Even these things were discussed like thousands of years ago by these mountain men. And so in some of the texts they talk about, they say bigu. So they used to tell their people, what to do. Bigu means, nowadays it means fasting. But I think the actual meaning, the Chinese guys, don't bully me, my Chinese isn't that great. But bigu, bi is no or don't. Gu is grain or grains. So no grains. Although bigu means no grains, what it actually meant at the time is not to ingest the 5 grains or the staples of the time. I think maybe rice, corn, wheat, millet. I'm not sure what the other ones were, 5 or 6. At the time, if you don't eat grains, you fast, because there's nothing else to eat. Because it was the staple that the people ate. Maybe that's what happened in Ireland when there was the potato. People used to starve because there was a potato shortage, and there was a famine there. Maybe, I don't know about the history, but I have heard that there was like the potato famine or something, because maybe that must have been the staple of Irish people, the people at that time. And then suddenly, no more potatoes, and they would starve, unless they ate something else. And so that was a staple, and other food wasn't that much available. So going back to China, the same thing. The staples at the time, you have these 5 or 6 grains, and that's what people ate. People could still eat meat. They could still eat like famine foods, for example. There's lots of kind of herbs, and they can forage around for leaves and things like that. But it couldn't sustain you, so they're deemed famine foods. You can't really last long, or you'd have to eat so much of it. They would sustain you for a certain time, and then maybe not too long. And then that's it. So what the Taoists meant at the time, when they said bigu, they didn't actually mean don't eat or fast. I think, this is my own opinion, bigu means don't eat normal food. So don't eat the staple food. So carnivore is really similar, but they don't know it. What they're doing is, they say don't eat junk food, processed food. Don't eat these vegetables and fruits. Think the staples, the food that we're told to eat that is good for us. Just eat food that can sustain you. Meat can sustain you. It has enough vitamins, minerals, amino acids to sustain you. And you don't need anything else, just water and salt. A little bit of fat maybe. And in fact, this is what the ancient Taoist or the mountain men used to do. And some of them weren't like technically Taoists. They were a bit like Jesus. Jesus was, although there's a religion now, Jesus has this religion or whatever, but he was a rebel. He was a rebellious person of the time. He didn't do the things that, for example, when it comes to money, he said, give to Caesar what's his and give to God what's his. He was quite a rebel, wasn't he? He didn't accept the rules of the time, well, anyway, the ancient, the mountain men were the same. I don't think they fitted much into any, like when I say this, I mean not the religious Daoism. No, you can go to China and you go to the Taoist temples and you've got these nuns there and praying and stuff like that. They don't know, they probably know nothing of the philosophy. I remember once going to one of these temples and saying, what do you think about Chan Sang Feng? What do you think about people that are spoken about in the old Taoist books? She knew nothing. She said, well, you should go to your Jesus temple, not here. I thought, bloody hell. You can't even ask any questions. It's the same, you know, some Catholics. I went to a Catholic priest, in the 90s. He was with his, like a groupie, like with a nun, right? Always following him. It was in some kind of event in Hyde Park or whatever, a Christian event or Catholic event. And I said to him, can I just ask you something about Jesus? Was Jesus the Son of God or was Jesus God? What do you think? You know, he didn't like the question. He said, go and ask your preacher. Because he asked me, are you Catholic? I said, yeah, I'm Catholic. He said, you should go and ask your preacher. Ask your priest. I said, oh, thank you. He just walked away all like puffed up with a massive ego. Worse than this fucking jacket. Oh, what the fuck is that? You know, when you meet people like that, you think, is this Christianity? Or is this Taoism? And the mistake is that I in the past have made is, and people do make, is that these people could lead you astray because you think, if that's Christianity, I don't want nothing to do with it. If that's Taoism, I don't want to have anything to do with it, you know? But it's not true, you know? Well, anyway, I don't really care much about, you know, the Taoist religion. I just care about the stories of the ancient men, the Taoist men. Some were Taoists, some were not. Some of these men, they might be mystical figures or they might have been historical figures. I don't know. Did say, Beagle. They kept saying, Beagle, don't eat any grain. No grain, no grain, no grain. Maybe if it's for a specific period of time, just like, you know, Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. I don't know how the hell you can do that. Because I think technically he fasted without even water. So how can you go 40 days, 40 nights, no water, nothing? I don't know. There must be some secret. Maybe he drank his own urine to recycle a little bit of a liquid, a little bit of water. But it isn't written in the Bible that he drank his urine. So I don't know. There's lots of gaps in the Bible. For example, what happened? I was going to say, what the hell? What the heaven? What happened to Jesus from 12 years of age to 30? There is nothing there. Maybe these books were taken out by some Roman, a Roman emperor or something. You know, people say, "Oh, look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look up." There are lost books of the Bible, but can you trust them? I don't know. You have to look into that. Anyway, let's go back to the Taoist. So, what's my point? My point here is, you know, the person that said, oh, calorific restriction. Well, this is calorific restriction. People did used to talk about restricting. And so once you restrict, once you stop your staple diet. So for example, if the Irish, I may be wrong here, Irish guys can tell me if I'm wrong. If people at the time stopped all the potatoes and they had nothing else to eat, some of them, of course, did survive, and you have to survive by, what do? You eat meat, or you forage for some vegetables, maybe some berries, stuff like that. So if there was an Irish, I don't know, like immortalist of the time, he would say, no potatoes, no potatoes, no potatoes. People will think he's crazy, because they'll say, look, the people are dying left and right like flies. How can you say no potatoes? So in essence, he's saying fast. But he's not saying that. He's saying don't eat ordinary food. So going back to, if you transport this person back to China, so these men were saying no ordinary food. Nowadays, if you say 闭谷 in China, it means fasting. But I think the original meaning, or what I take to be the original meaning, is don't eat ordinary food. So yes, no grain, but you have to, the context is that the grains were a staple, and so maybe meat was, if you were rich, maybe you had more money, you can have meat, and maybe people could forage, but there wasn't much nutrition in the food that you forage, and maybe people didn't know too much about the Chinese herbs, only people maybe who were rich or knowledgeable, or their idea, I think, was don't eat the 5 grains, don't eat the staples, eat meat, water, possibly salt, and some herbs that you forage, like medicinal herbs. And so that's what nowadays, there's the carnivore kind of craze, and people are finding out that if they just eat meat, drink water, have some butter or salt to increase their fat, they actually feel well. Their autoimmune diseases kind of dissipate, they go away. And that's because, of course, your LDL will go up, your cholesterol will go up. But the theory is, what the carnivores say is that LDL, yes, is a bad marker. But if you, in the context of a normal person eating a normal diet with carbohydrates, fruit, sugar, higher insulin spikes and things like that, then it's bad. And also because the gut has more inflammation and oxidative stress as well, which affects other systems in the body. If LDL goes up, as long as HDL goes up, the good cholesterol, and the triglycerides are low, then the high LDL potentially is not a massive problem. But vegans or other people will say, no, any amount of LDL is bad. Then they show you the studies, any amount of LDL, high cholesterol is bad. But then those studies don't take into account the fact that carnivores are not eating carbohydrates. So there could be something about carbohydrate that affects this LDL. What about a study should be done where carnivores, these people here, have high LDL, and they check what happens to them. That study doesn't exist. So the vegans have to always go back to, well, these studies show, but the carnivores will say, well, they don't show us. They show that LDL is bad, but in the context of a mixed macronutrient diet. So there's this fight between the vegans and the non-vegans, or the carnivores. The non-vegans are mainly the carnivores, keto people, and the paleo people. So just going back to what I was saying, what was I saying? I have to go do some shopping now. So in ancient texts, you can find out ways to extend life. And that's how modern science has done it. They've looked back in time and they think, oh, okay, this fasting, let's see if it works. And they found that if you restrict your calories, I think nematode worms, fruit flies, and other smaller, not smaller, lower organisms, it does extend life. But it has to, it still has to be shown in human beings. What I'm saying is, these people did it at the time. In ancient China, they were basically eating a carnivore diet. They were basically calorie restricting. They probably didn't eat big steaks, but I know what they used to do is they used to get meat and dry it, make something like pemmican. They used to dry food, and they used to make like a product, dry the meat with some herbs, and bring water with them maybe, and then because they used to walk up the mountain to, like meditate or whatever they did in the mountain, or live a life of solitude. And you have to eat. You can forage herbs, plants, but they probably had meat. Not all the Daoists were vegetarians, Some were, some weren't. So that's the way I see it. I look back into the past and I see, where in the old scriptures and the old stories did they talk about things like calorific restriction? So it's a kind of reverse engineering. Did they talk about this in the past? And they did. Then you could look at the past and think and say, well, what other things did they talk about? What other things did they experiment with? And so, like, going back to alchemy, they must have known something, because mercury, they played about with mercury and they tried to create gold, to create an elixir that will create gold, that will transmute. No, sorry, they created an elixir and then they used this mercury, and this elixir can, I don't know, add one bond or whatever, one atom to this solution or whatever. It transmuted it to gold. And then later you see in the table of elements, later on, a few hundred years later on, that mercury is close to gold. So they knew this without knowing it. You know, they must have experimented, and the experiments must have been successful. You know, so there must be a way to transmute mercury into gold, because it's only one step away. That's my way of thinking. I might be wrong, completely wrong. I probably am. Yeah, so to the guy, he said, like, calorific restriction and diet. Sorry, not diet, exercise. It could be, yeah. It could be that exercise can extend life, but I don't think there are any studies. I'll have to have a look. It could extend probably your health span. So the amount of years that you're healthy. But to actually extend your lifespan, to extend the normal human lifespan of 120 years maximum to 130, let's say. If exercise showed that it can extend the maximal lifespan, then okay, that's interesting. But if you say that people live longer exercising, that's something else. It doesn't actually move this 120-year needle. That's what I'm interested in, not in between 80 and 120 people live longer. No, that's not enough. You have to bypass this 120 years, whether it comes with drugs, whatever therapy, gene therapy, you know, or a combination of things. I don't really care. So, yeah, the answer, I'm not going back to the guy who asked me about alchemy. I'm not really interested in alchemy for alchemy's sake. I'm interested in the goal of life extension, and to extend life for hundreds of years, you know, 1,000 years. And it is possible, because once you reach something called escape velocity, then anything is possible. So what that means is that, say for example, you can extend your life from, let's say, 80 to 100, right? So within these 20 years, a drug or a therapy can be created that will extend your life another 10 years. So your life is extended to another 10 years to 110. In that time, if there's another therapy or technology that extends your life another 10 years, then you keep moving this way and you reach escape velocity. So you keep extending your life, technology keeps improving, and there's no end. And finally, you'll get to a point where AI or some kind of system could be put into your body to control everything. So you don't have to actually think about looking after yourself, because human beings make mistakes. You know, we eat the wrong food, we get angry, we make so many mistakes, accidents and things, and we can't be really relied upon all the time. So if you have some system like AI to help you and to stop you from making mistakes, potentially, yeah, we can live for like hundreds, at least hundreds of years. I mean, obviously, you have to work out the problem of aging. You have to fix aging. You have to find, as I said, an age arresting technology, and you know they've tried to do that. I think if you can find out how to solve the cancer problem, then you can find out how to become immortal. Because cancer, you know, you think, well, what is immortal? There's no immortality in the world. Cancer isn't immortal. It's something that if you left it to grow, it wouldn't stop growing. It wouldn't stop. It wants to survive. And, you know, usually our cells replicate. And then when there's a problem, you've got the P53 gene, I think it's called, that causes the cell to commit suicide or apoptosis. But if this cell is damaged, it doesn't want to die, it wants to live, it becomes immortal, becomes cancer. So when people have been trying to create, therapies, they come to this problem. When they try to create the cell, try to make it immortal, the problem is if it mutates, then you have an immortal cell, you have an immortal cancer. That's the problem. This happened with with telomeres. I think they tried to create telomerase, which is the enzyme that controls the caps at the end of the telomere. But the problem is, if you tell the cells not to die, if they mutate and they get damaged, they won't die and they'll continue replicating and it will switch to cancer. That's the problem. If you try to create an immortal body, then you have naturally in your system another immortal that will be triggered. So that is the problem. How do you create an immortal without waking up a natural immortal? So once that's figured, once we know, or the scientists know, what makes cancer tick, how can we stop cancer, then we'll go a long way towards fixing aging or arresting the aging process safely. Because now things can be done, but it's not safe. You'll wake up that immortal. And you don't want to do that. Yeah, so those are my thoughts, based on the comments I got, and I got some emails as well. I'm loosely interested in alchemy. What I'm interested in is life extension. If it comes through alchemy, okay. But a lot of people have studied alchemy all their lives and gotten nowhere. There's a labyrinth there in all the books. You're just caught in a maze because the alchemists didn't want others to understand. What is it they didn't want to understand? God knows. I keep my mind open, just try to pick up ideas from different areas. So, that's my answer to the guy who was talking about alchemy and life extension, and other people who sent me emails. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. Well, not lately, this morning actually. And although it's really interesting, I don't want to limit myself to alchemy. It's a big subject. There's so many bloody books to read. Either you have to have the help of an alchemist, a master alchemist, to tell you what the hell is going on, or the grace of God to help you, because it's really difficult to understand. Well, anyway, so those are my thoughts today. My battery is running out. I'll speak to you guys later. If this was interesting for you, it gave you an insight on in the way I think, and the way my brain works, then that's a good thing. If I've entertained you and you've fallen asleep, then that's also a good thing. Yeah. Okay, so see you in the next video. Oh, love yourself and love each other. Bye.
Why'd you pull the trigger? You won't find the light in the smoke and mirrors.